Hey everybody, in this video we're going to be creating a really simple video game in Unity. Now frankly, this is the very first time that I ever used Unity in my life, so if I can make a game that looks like this, then so can you. So let's jump straight in. The very first thing we need to do is we need to install Unity. I recently made a video about that and I'm going to be linking it in the description down below. So if you haven't got Unity yet, then go ahead and watch that video first, but in this video we're going to skip over the installation process and we're going to go straight to the Community Hub and create a new Unity project. So let's open up the Community Hub. In the Community Hub, you're going to click on New Project, and subsequently you'll have the option to create a 2D project or a 3D project, and we're going to start off easy with a 2D project. Before we create the project, let's quickly specify the name and the location where we want it saved. We're going to call the project Unity Tutorial, and then we're going to leave the location as is and click on Create Project. Then it's going to take a moment for the project to open up. You can use this brief moment to click on the like button on this video or subscribe to the channel. And yeah, then the project window opens up and you have a blank Unity project. Beautiful. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to import some assets from the Unity Asset Store that we're going to build our game with. Now to get the assets, we simply click on Window, then we can go and click on Asset Store. And this new window plops up, and then we can click on Search Online and a browser window opens with the Unity Asset Store. Now you can use any assets that you want to, but I recommend that you use the same assets that I do so that you can follow along in this video. Now I am going to be using an asset pack from Buy It Games. It is free and I am also going to be leaving a link to it in the description down below. It has very beautiful assets, and so I am going to type Buy It Games in the search window, and once I open up their page, it will say Open in Unity. Now this button that you can see right here might not be there for you and might say something like install, but since I've already installed this package in the past, it says Open in Unity. Once I click that, another window plops up. I can press open in the Unity editor, and now you'll see in Unity a small window has popped up on the bottom allowing me to import some assets. So let's go ahead and press on import. Now in the window that pops up, you'll be able to choose which assets specifically out of the package you want to download. Now I'm just going to take all of them for the sake of simplicity, but feel free to just take a few of them if you want to save some disk space. Now what you'll be able to see is that in the project overview, you will have a new folder in the assets folder called Buy It Games. And if we open this one up, you'll see that there's plenty of different folders containing all the different assets that we can use. So for example, if I click on backgrounds and we have a look at some backgrounds, for example, in this folder, I can drag out a nice background image. To perhaps take another example, there's also some nice characters. If I take a character jumping, for instance, you can see that there's a small image of a character jumping, or there's images of characters running. Yeah, so there's plenty of things that we are able to work with from this package. All right, so let's get rid of all of these things, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to learn how to create the map. For this purpose, we're going to drag in a background image. We're going to take the 1920 by 1080 background, and we're just going to stretch it out a little bit and make it a little bit wider. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a few tiles and we're going to place them onto our canvas. We're going to take the 512 by 512 blocks and place 3 of them onto our background. We are going to leave a bit of space between the blocks because that is where I'm going to add some water later on. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up the main camera of our game. So if I click on the main camera and then click on this 2D logo over here, you can see that our window changes from a 2D window to a 3D one. In this 3D window, I can actually go ahead and drag around the camera where I want to have it pointing onto our canvas. In addition to that, I can also change the camera by changing its size. So we can go ahead and play around with these parameters until we have our screen set really nicely. Now that we've set our camera up, we're going to add some animations to this game. The first animation we're going to add is the one of our coin spinning on the middle island. So we're going to navigate to a folder called coin animation, and in that folder you'll find another folder called PNG, and then in that folder it's the 4X folder where you'll find a ton of pictures of the coin, each showing the coin from a different angle. So I'm going to select images 1 to 16 and simply drag and drop them into our canvas. A window will then plop up asking me to save a new animation. I'm going to call this new animation coin animation and press on save. And once I've done that, I have the coin in our game window. So now if I press on play, you'll be able to see that I have a coin spinning on our middle island. Now there is something else that you're going to notice right here, which is every time the coin spins, it disappears for a very brief moment. And the reason why this happens is because we still haven't set the layer of our coin. At the moment, every single component that we've added to our canvas lies on the same layer. But we have not yet told Unity that we want the coin to remain in the foreground. So in order to do that, we need to stop the game, and then we can press on the coin. And in the top right hand corner, you can see a tab called Layer. And in the layer, you can leave it at default, that's no problem. But then when you go down to the sprite renderer, you can see that there is an option to specify the order in layer. And we're just going to put it to 1. So right now, if I click on the background image, you can see that the background has an order in layer 0 and is assigned to the layer default. And if I press on the coin again, you can see the coin is also part of the layer default, but it has a higher order because over here it is 1. So now if I go ahead and save this and press play again, you'll be able to see that the coin always remains on top of the background and doesn't blend out anymore. Now we also want the ground blocks to always be displayed at the front of our display. We want them to be in front of the background. So let's go ahead and change the layer, or more specifically the order in layer of the ground blocks to 2 for each and every single ground block. Now you might be wondering why I have assigned the ground blocks to an order in layer number 2 instead of number 1, just like the coin. And that is because number 1 is also going to be reserved for our water blocks. As you will see in a moment, they need to be behind our ground blocks. The next thing we're going to add in is another animation, and it is going to be the animation of the water, which is going to separate the middle island from the 2 parts of land on the right and on the left hand side of our screen. So down in the project, we want to search for water, and you'll see a folder called water animation. Open that up, and then we can click on the 2.5D view, and there's a PNG folder in there. Then we click on the 2X images, and we have a nice set of images that we can use to animate the water. All we need to do here is drag and drop all the images of the water into our scene window. Once we do that, a small box pops up asking us to save this as a new animation. So after we have saved this water animation, we can go ahead and move it around our scene window, and I am going to place 1 block of water over here and make sure that the size fits right in between the 2 pieces of land. And then I'm going to copy and paste this block of water and add it to the right hole over here. As I mentioned earlier, the order in layer of our water blocks is going to be 1 because we want the water blocks to be displayed just before our background but behind our ground blocks. So our map is starting to take shape. The last thing I'm going to do is add a tree to the left hand side of the scene window. So down here in the project window, I am going to search for trees. And I am going to pick out a nice bushy tree that I am going to place onto our scene window. Now the tree may or may not appear behind your background image, and all you need to make sure here is that you assign the right order and layer again, and we want the tree to be displayed before our ground blocks, so we're going to give it an order and layer of 3. Now pay attention to the tree. As soon as we assign the new order and layer, it plops right in front of our ground block. So if we go ahead and press play at this stage, we can see that we have a really beautiful map and we have added some water animations to it, as well as a coin that spins on the middle island. Beautiful. Now before we move on, let's just briefly restore some order in our hierarchy over here on the left-hand side. We're going to create a new empty game object, create empty, and we're going to call it grass. And it is going to store all the individual grass tiles that we have. Now, then we're going to click away, and that's sorted. Then in addition to that, we have the 3 images. We're going to call this image over here the water block number 1, or water 1 more simply. And we're also going to rename this one over here into water 2. And as we did with the grass blocks, we're also going to create an empty game object for the water and store all the water blocks in there. And finally, we also have our coin that we need to sort out, because at the moment it is called image 1, which is not very descriptive. So let's click on it and rename it to coin. There we go. Now that's really nice, and all the individual assets have the right name. All right, so we're going to leave it here for this episode, and in the next episode we're going to look at how we can add a player to our game and make him move about our screen.